Erik Ashdown. I'm an entrepreneur. I've had a few startups, some in various spaces, from music to dry cleaning at one point. And now we're building a peer-reviewed technical financial due diligence platform called Cartel for people to invest in ICOs. There's a lot of ICOs, so initial coin offerings, and there's a lot of skepticism about what's good, what's bad. There's not just what's good, what's bad, what has a market, and there's a lot of scams. Last year, or since the ICO boom started, there's been over $1 billion in scams. And so we built a platform so people can talk to each other, communicate, score ICOs, and have a better idea of what they should be investing in collectively without influence from the outside world via marketing, via input, or via anybody who has any motivated outcomes that you may or may not know of. So including YouTube celebrities, Telegram channels, or anything else.
So when doing, looking for clues on which ICOs that are worth anything or kind of has potential, what do you think? What are you looking for, and what do you think other people should be looking for?
Oof, good question. The team is a huge thing. So I always look at team, I look at the market. I mean, there's a lot of things where people are saying, we're tokenizing this, or we're doing an ICO for this. And I look at it and I say, why? Who's going to adopt this? What's the probability that anyone's going to understand this? So I won't, without naming names, I saw an ICO that was looking specifically at stay-at-home moms. And I said, why is a stay-at-home mom ever going to understand what this is or how this works? I think there's a fundamental problem with that, and I think there's a lot of things that people don't just understand that they don't work, or they won't work, or in a lot of ways we're just not ready. So for me personally, I look at a broad spectrum of things. That's how we built Cartel, was to bring this broad spectrum of things that we look at and simplify it in a way where it's digestible to people, and they understand what it is. So that includes token economics, advisor roles, team members, vision, product market fit, what is the quality of their demo or their prototype. And then, beyond that, once we think something is viable, we just go through an extra layer. So I look at articles of incorporation, partnership agreements, and literally everything else you can think of.
The qualities that you carry as a team, what do you say those are?
I think we're honest. It's definitely honesty and being transparent. If we don't know how something works, we don't beat around the bush. Right now we're working with a bunch of different people who are helping us do the due diligence. And we've been very, very upfront saying, guys, we don't know how this is all going to work. We're trying to figure out from our experience investing in 20 plus ICOs as individuals and as a collective team, all the people on the Cartel team, how can we do this in a way that works for everybody, where we all feel safe and we all feel comfortable putting our name on something or investing money into something, right? And so there's no absolute answer, but I think we're pretty forthcoming about this. And we're just doing the best we can to ensure that everyone benefits at the end of the day, not just ourselves, but the entire community and the entire community that's involved with Cartel and crypto community as a whole. Really, for who are part of the community, it's not one centralized location. We're seeing people in Stockholm, people in Oslo, people in Pittsburgh, Brazil, Rio de Janeiro, everywhere. So it's great that people are starting to see the utility and are signing up. And it's great that we're seeing that there is this interest in crypto global, but everyone's sort of sharing the same vision that we need to work together to make this a better space, opposed to just throwing money at various things and hoping they all work out. We need a more pragmatic approach. So I think that's really exciting.
So practically, how does that work with Cartel? How do you engage with Cartel?
Well, right now the way it works is we're in a closed beta, and what we've been doing is trying to streamline the process of how to get a handful of people to invest in these ICOs. The process is fairly straightforward. Once you're logged in, the whole process is done with Ethereum. So you'll see there'll be due diligence. So if there's an ICO that's listed, it's been peer reviewed. Then there's a variety of things that aren't listed because we can't vouch for them. We don't know enough about them. We haven't done our due diligence. People haven't reviewed them. From there, somebody else who's not associated with the company will generally go and negotiate terms with the ICO or whatever they think is fair. We'll enable people that will then engage in a smart contract, send their ether through, and send it off to the ICO. The purpose of this is we realize there's a lot of people who want to invest in ICOs, but the process is very complex, and you don't always know if they're secure. So if we figured if there's just one place to do everything, and that could even secure discounts, that the public wouldn't have access to, that's probably the best platform to do it, the best way to do it. We're not in a rush to get to market, and we're not in a giant rush to fail. I mean, not to fail. We're not in a giant rush for anything, really. I think what we're doing is we have a vision and we know we're doing the right thing, and so it's as much time as it takes to do the right thing.
And when you have accomplished what you would like to accomplish, what will the world look like then?
So I'm going to go on a bit of a tangent. I think that if this is the internet, we're at Windows 98, right? If cryptocurrency, maybe not even Windows 98, maybe we're still at Windows 95. I think we're early in the game, and I think a lot of things haven't quite taken off. And I don't think we've seen the tipping point of where this is going to go. What we're building is a secure platform to invest and do peer-reviewed due diligence into ICOs. So people who are looking to invest, this is a place where you can figure out if they're secure or not. And what I think the future is really people investing in different types of asset classes. So I mean, I saw there's a company out of Switzerland. I'm not plugging any one company, but they're doing tokenized art collection. And I said, this is amazing because I personally could never afford to buy a Monet. But I believe in buying, $1,000 worth of a Monet, and that will appreciate. And I think what's amazing about crypto and blockchain technologies is it allows people to invest in these types of alternative assets that we never really thought of investing in. And I think it democratizes access to everybody. And I think that's the goal above and beyond what we're doing. And I think that's where the future is in the cryptocurrency and blockchain space. And hopefully we can be an integral part of that as it goes along.
So in terms of being the blockchain space being in the Windows 98 state currently,
yeah.
Where do you think it is going?
I've heard some people say that we're still waiting for the killer app. I don't know if we're waiting for the killer app because I don't think that much of blockchain technology is going to be very public or know what it is, because at the end of the day, blockchain is it's a coding language. It's no different than, it's very different, but it's JavaScript, it's C++, it's just another language, but it's just the utility that is associated with it and the hype around it. So I don't know if we haven't seen the killer app yet, or the killer app isn't far enough along. I don't know when it's going to catch on, and I don't think we're quite at mainstream yet when people can't bring it up in a standard conversation like they can most other things. In my mind, we've reached success when it's working in the background and our society is improving, our global society is improving because of it, but we don't necessarily know what's happening, right? I think that's the best way for it to come along, is people can make money from doing things, people can earn an income, it's solving legitimate problems, adding transparency to our economy, I think, our global economy. I think that's the ultimate goal. That's above and beyond us.
And in terms of choosing an ICO to invest in, how important is the technology?
I think, so I'll say this, Cartel is not revolutionary, groundbreaking technology as much as it is entrepreneurs who are turning something complex into something simple. And it's a business model with a mission. I think if you believe in what you're doing, if you believe in a company, you understand the fundamental problem of that business model, and it's something you could see yourself adopting, then I wouldn't be scared to throw money at it. And that's not me endorsing any one ICO. I'm just saying, if you believe in the team and you think this is the team to do it, and this is the product, and this is the demo, and this is the prototype, and you believe where it can go, then it's just gut instinct from there.
And compared to business as usual, what are the major differences that you see?
I have seen a lot of things that are overinflated in terms of price. I think we're if we're comparing this to the .com bubble, which a lot of people are, I think there's a lot of uncanny similarities. And I don't think, and if you've had a startup company before, most people would understand that you don't need, $50 million, $100 million to execute. I'm not saying that these companies don't need it or they won't use it, but I think the more money you give somebody or give some people without a track record of executing previous to that, there tends to be laziness and people don't work as hard. And I think having all this money goes against the fundamental approach of having a startup, which is when you have a startup, you work very hard from day one, and it's a journey. It's not getting rich after doing a sale or raising money, and then going and buying Lambos and partying and never actually getting the job done. I think that's part of the problem, is there's a lot of people who are out to make a lot of money and not a lot of people out right now who are there to solve problems. I could be wrong. I hope I am, but we'll see. Time will tell.
how can Cartel be of help in that regard?
So I've realized that when I've spoken to very successful entrepreneurs, very successful investors, wildly successful venture capitalists, and even people who know the crypto space very well, what you realize is nobody knows what's going on. Nobody. Like, people just do not understand what's going on, and everyone has different opinions. But when you get into a space where you have people who are all playing on the same team, everybody wants to invest in something, no one wants to lose their money at the end of the day, but everybody wants to ensure the best products are successful. You see people let down their guard and start to share their insights and their due diligence and their reasoning behind things in a way where there's no prejudice, there's no talking down to anybody. It's people who are genuinely concerned for the outcomes of everybody else and the rest of the community. And I think that's what we're really looking for, is this ability to bring people together to collectively share their financial expertise, their crypto expertise, their technical expertise, their industry knowledge specific expertise, and really get all that information so we can make the best informed decisions. I mean, I don't think at the end of the day, I think the problem with crypto right now is we're seeing it go full circle, where it started as these amazing projects where we could all invest in these new ecosystems, right? And now it's sort of gone back the traditional venture capital model where only the venture capitalists are starting to invest in these things. They don't have a fundamental understanding of the growth of the technology. They're just seeing dollar signs, dollar signs, dollar signs. I think there's a big problem with that. And I think that's what we're looking to do, is to give the power back to the people, in the essence of how crypto started.
Who is winning and who is losing in this game?
I think there's a mixed bag. I think it's a mixed bag. I think in the long run, the crypto market is here. Everything is, in my opinion, a lot of things last year were overvalued and the correction we had was imminent. I think, even with Cartel, you're going to see a lot of great projects come through and get funded. You're going to, where they'll do the due diligence and they'll see that these are projects people should invest in. And there's going to be projects that slip through and nobody touches that end up being home runs. It's the nature of the beast. I think ultimately what we're trying to do is protect people early on, because right now, as it is you see these cryptocurrencies going on to exchanges, and they might, when they hit the exchange, they might be priced in at $1. But what people don't realize is everybody who bought it before it got to $1 was buying it at 20 cents, 30 cents, 50 cents. So it's not truly representative. At the end of the day, the people who are getting these cryptocurrencies are getting them at a market rate where they're completely overinflated, and I don't think that's fair, because the people who are getting into the early stages buying it for 30 cents are getting it at a rate where the public just doesn't have access to it because of back-end deals. So I think there's a problem with that, and that's where the end consumer, the public, is generally getting stuck paying the bill on a lot of these cryptocurrencies. So I think if we can get more people into the public sale, investing early on in projects that they understand, there's a lot of value there. So people can be part of that and really be the advocates for these cryptocurrencies as they start to scale and grow.
So you're almost like a guardian, you might say, of certain values or certain qualities.
Or a cartel for good.
That's good.
We're a group. We're not one person. We're not one entity. I don't think I'm any better or any smarter than anybody else. I think there's much smarter and better people, but we're just bringing everybody to one platform so we can make sure the best things succeed and they find the best communities.
What are the most fragile aspects or qualities or values that you really feel like you need to?
I think there's a fine line between crushing someone's dreams and mitigating investments. So I'll give an example without naming names. Is a friend of mine came and he has an ICO, and he said, hey, do you mind sharing this with part of your group? So right now it's a small syndicate of people just doing the due diligence, technical, financial. And we looked it over and we just said, this is terrible. This is absolutely horrible. And he was destroyed because he said, well, I was going to do an ICO, I was going to do this, I was going to do that. And we just said, listen, it's not that you shouldn't do it, but maybe you haven't thought everything through. So come back, work on this for 6 months, come back. It's not a bad thing. And if you had pushed this forward now, that wouldn't have been good. And it's not that he's a bad person or has bad intentions, and it's not that he's raising $50 million for his ICO. I mean, he's looking for $750,000. But also this token economics generally made sense, but his business plan, we were all looking at each other saying, I don't get it. How is this going to scale? Why? How does this benefit me? It benefits the business, but I don't own any equity in the business, so I couldn't see why the tokens would benefit me as the person buying it, right? So I understood that, but I think he just needed some more fine tuning. I think there's that, and just not to make sure people don't get upset. I think as it scales and we start to see more people adopting the platform and doing due diligence up front, opposed to before the ICO, opposed to when it hits the market, I think you're going to see different types of people look at things differently. And I think a lot of companies are going to be scared when they see, something got a review of 31% when they've already raised $30 million. But if they've raised $30 million behind closed doors and the public doesn't know, all that means is they're great at selling things on the back end, but don't understand the end consumer or the market they're addressing. So I think there's going to be a lot of skepticism, and it's going to anger a lot of people at various points, but protect the end user.
So you recently came from the Consensus meeting in New York. What was the sentiment there, you think?
Consensus was interesting. So I went from Consensus in New York, which is the big crypto thing put on by CoinDesk, crypto conference. And I went from there to Catapult, which is a technology impact, impact technology, which is technology for good in Norway, which was in Oslo. And what was amazing was being there with all of these very smart, very savvy, very well-connected, networked crypto people in New York. Some of these are ICOs I've invested in where I finally met the founders. Some are products that I've seen from afar and I said, this is really interesting. And some are just new investors and people excited in the space. But what's interesting is you go from that where people are very much, how do we fund this? How do we do this? Here's how we're going to do this. And doing deals where you go to Catapult, where the blockchain discussions were very much centered around how do we make the world a better place and how do we put this technology in the right hands and how do we empower people. And I think there's very big disconnects, which is sort of a problem because of how this started was, in 2000, we all know the big story of Bitcoin, 2008, economic crash. We need to change the way government works, more transparency, alternative currency, take power back. And I think that's sort of an anarchist movement. And I think that there's this in between where it's very capitalist, but still very fundamentalist. And I'm starting to see there's a bit of a divide happening, which is unfortunate. But we'll see. I mean, deals have to happen somewhere, and what better place to go where everyone's looking to make deals in New York?
In your words, how would you explain the crypto space?
I think the easiest way I've realized is if you're buying into, there's two ways to look at it. And this is putting things into more traditional buckets. So, if you look at things like a utility token or a security token, a utility token is basically buying what I call a gift certificate for a company. But the gift certificate can appreciate and depreciate in value, right? So let's say, I buy a McDonald's gift certificate, a $10 gift certificate for $2, but I can sell it, on an exchange for $12, but maybe nobody will buy it at $12, we'll see. So that's, I think, what's one way of looking at it. Another way where I think we're approaching, we haven't quite figured out the mechanics yet, is allowing people to buy tokens into securities, so things that actually have intrinsic monetary value. So I buy this, and this is actually worth $10 of this, whether it's a stock in a company or whether it's part ownership of a piece of art. I think that's the big difference. And if people don't understand what the token does or how they could exchange the token, outside from selling it on an alternative exchange, a Binance, a KuCoin, whatever it is, they probably just shouldn't buy it. If you don't understand the business or wouldn't want to spend that token yourself, it's probably not a good thing that you're investing in it.
There are people right now watching this who think, oh, wow, this Erik guy seems like a very nice guy and has a nice solution. What's the best way to get in contact with you?
Email probably. You can email me at Erik, E-R-I-K, at joincartel.com. Check it out. You can sign up there also at joincartel.com. We'll put a little reference code. You should use the reference code below, actually. Yeah. We're looking to speak, obviously, to ICOs. If you're interested in ICO, it'd be great for people to sign up and just get the word out. We're just obviously looking for user growth and to help people in the space understand what's going on. And right now, there's a lot of people who are signed up on the waiting list who've never invested in an ICO, but they're saying, "Oh, this makes sense. This is the logical first place to start, or a best place to understand." So, really, any help is good. We're looking to make friends and solve solutions, solve problems. Awesome.
Thank you.
My pleasure. Cheers.